niho tuzubakira Karongi, niho tuzubakira u Rwanda, niho buri munyarwanda wese yihitiramo.
Give us a general overview of Rwanda and the Rwandan people in the diaspora.
Well, thank you, JJ. The Rwandan diaspora has got a very long history, going back in so many decades, when many Rwandans were thrown out of their own country, and they never had a chance to come back until some 3 decades later. So we've got diasporas in everywhere, almost. Rwandans are scattered everywhere. Although in the last 16 years, they have been streaming back into their own country after they got it back in 1994, albeit after terrible events that took place. So the Rwandan diaspora is very, very determined to play their own role in what's happening in Rwanda, in the transformation that has been taking place, to make sure that they are part and parcel of whatever is happening, and they are not losing out on being part of that process. And I think that's what you have seen here, people coming here to vote in big numbers and expressing the very, very strong opinions about what's happening in Rwanda.
Okay, now looking at you know many Africans, many Africa problems. Like you have Rwanda has held an elections.
Yep.
And you might find that in some Western media, they might have been some negative comments. What do you say to that?
Well, negative comments are always there for anything, really. I've never seen anything that is perfect, as far as the media is concerned. I think I personally see 2 problems with the criticisms that have been coming from the side of the media and the so-called human rights organizations. First is because Rwanda is no longer a good market for some human rights NGOs, really, because the kind of chaos, the kind of violence that they want in some African countries, they don't find it. And when they don't find it, they don't get that stream of money that has been coming on in to support the so-called activities and their savvy activities in Africa, or at least not in Rwanda. So for that reason, Rwanda has been very, very disappointing to some NGOs. And I know I have my background in human rights law, and I have worked with some of these organizations. I know their mentality. I know how where they are coming from. So they want that chaos to continue. Like what we had in 1994 was very, very good for them. That was a good market. That was a perfect environment in which they can operate. But for the last 10 years, when Rwanda has been stabilizing, I think they are very, very, some of them are very disappointed. Secondly, the other point I want to make is that there are sections of Western interests that have sought to display or to portray a certain image of Africa. So Africans must be like this, Africa must always be like that, and if one of those countries in Africa diverts from that notion or from that concept that they have been cultivating around, then they don't like it. They will try to fight from that, that change from happening. And that kind of notion, that concept that they portray, I think serves a certain interest from the West. I've been around for the last 12 years in these countries, and I've learned that democracy they talk about is not only a political system, but it's a confluence of so many factors: economic, social, political, cultural beliefs, religious beliefs that have come together to form what they call democracy today in some of these mature countries. But they are not allowing us to go through that system. They want us to start from the apex. Where they are now, that's where they want us to start. And that's not possible. And Rwanda has been saying, no, we want to chart our own future. We want to start right from the beginning, and then probably, and we hope, we are determined that we're going to get where you guys are and you want us to be. But we cannot rush, because the moment you rush it, you never know whether you're going to get there.
Yeah. Well, I know, Mr. Mugabo, you are a man of so many devices. You see, we know in Africa we have got a big problem in the media. So do you think that if Africa started investing in educating or training journalists, photographers and stuff like that. Do you think that would help? Because then that means we could actually report Africa the way we see it.
Well, I definitely think that we have not been able to tell our own stories. You know, we have kind of allowed the other people to tell our own story, and they tell it in the way they want it. You know, I have seen so many people writing about Rwanda over the last 16 years, and they write what they want. They write what fits in their own interests. Few Rwandans have wrote what happened. Few Rwandans have been able to tell their own stories, and those who have been able to tell it, it doesn't reach the international community the way their own stories reach. So I think it's high time we start looking at probably having our own media outlets and outfits that can tell our own stories the way we want them to be told, and the way they are actually, rather than just leaving the Western interest to continue advancing a certain image of Africa that is not right.
Niho tuzubakira Karongi, niho tuzubakira u Rwanda, niho buri munyarwanda wese yihitiramo.